Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here.
Hello, everybody, and I am very pumped about this particular show. Looking forward to it.
Well, what was her title again?
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very beautiful. Thank you. I'm glad to have a fan. Agreed.
I
I'm a jack of all trades. You just have to catch me in the right mood. I can, but my voice is for babies and showers only.
Pam,
I
just a
like
quick. uh, where did you get started on singing?
I love to tell that story. Thank you for asking. I can remember singing as some of the first talking I did, basically. My mother played the piano and we sang together, and she taught me basic piano. So sometimes we'd sing and play both of us at the same time on the same piano. I would just play the little rudimentary notes and she'd play all the accompaniment. And it's been a big part of my life, my entire life. I was able to memorize lyrics way before I could read or really understand what letters meant.
Wow,
And I just love it. Thank you for asking.
awesome. Love that passion.
Thank you. Well, that was back in, as I can remember, April of 2019. I had been on my autonomy journey along with you guys for what, 4 months, 3 months? And I was realizing there was a really a lot further than I needed to go, and I still do. I mean, sometimes I think that even in my awakening, I'm still a toddler, you know. But I knew that there was something that I needed, and you and I resonate so well together. We get each other. We have so much fun. Uh, you and I both enjoy laughing, and that's a very big thing for my soul. I love it. So I was like, let's give this a try. This seems really neat and very intuitive. I had read a book about face reading, like the ancient Chinese art of face reading, whatever, and I was intrigued. So I thought, wow, this could be a really neat step in some self discovery and to find out some points that I could work on. And boy, was it interesting. Yes, absolutely. It was so interesting to me. And Agnieszka, and I'm sure other therapists, but I know for sure Agnieszka uses this really awesome face split type of program. Yeah.
A little technical difficulty. We'll figure it out. Well,
Well, I
let's
was
see
gonna
here.
ask.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, actually, I was gonna mention, Pamela, when you were talking about April of 2019. That was right after. I remember this specifically because it was really impactful. It was roughly kind of where I left off, really getting a lot of like I was really stuck in this spot. But it was right after the conversation or the lecture about dropping your baggage. And I realized that I couldn't drop my baggage. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know how to drop it. And so that's actually when I started reaching out to Agnieszka as well.
That's fantastic. Isn't that cool?
So
It's fascinating how it lines up.
I just want to test my microphone. I think it's working now. And yeah, I think I fixed the problem.
Yay.
It's hard to be the person running everything and doing this, you know?
Yes.
So
All
you,
right.
you were gonna do some pictures and
Yeah.
some
So
descriptions.
I was talking
splitting.
about face reading because Pamela is a wonderful person, and I had her take a picture of herself. So okay, sorry, I got a little convoluted there because I lost my mic, but I have my mic now. So basically what we do when we do a face split is, as you know, the right side of the body is governed by your left brain and the left side is governed by your right brain. And so the left brain is analytical, it's giving its action, it's giving its action. It's the part of you that does the doing aspects of life. Whereas
the masculine.
the masculine also, yes.
Yep.
Whereas the feminine, the left side, the feminine, the receiving, the feeling, the emoting, that's your left side. That's the feminine side. And so all your thoughts that you're thinking throughout the day are showing up on your face, right? And they're showing up in little muscle twitches and things. And, if you twitch enough times throughout the day, it kind of sticks that way. And then you can see a little wrinkle. And then there's a lot of information contained in your face. So what we do when we split the face, not the actual face, but the picture of the face, we cut it in half and we put two left sides together and two right sides together. And then we can tell how the feminine aspects and the masculine aspects are showing up in the person, what part of the brain they're governed by, and things like that. So I guess I can show you Pamela first. So this is the pictures of Pamela. Now, the top pictures are the ones that Pamela did from last year. And so we can see how her face is really square, and especially on the left sides, the feminine side, it's more like a bully kind of energy. It's very dominant, strong kind of energy. And then on the masculine, she was very subdued. So she was very squished. And so that needed to come into balance. So tell us how that worked out for you, Pamela, while I share these pictures with the group.
One of the neatest things, of course, I'm a copious note taker because I like to hear it spoken. I like to write it, and then later on, I like to read and ruminate. So I remember very distinctly one of the things that you said is you need to nurture your man, your male side, he's a little man, and this big bossy woman is knocking him down. And so you need to find a way to parent, as you mentioned, little Pamela, and to be the parent that can help you become balanced. And it was kind of neat because anytime I would feel the things that would be the masculine traits or the action forward, because I was very good at short circuiting myself. I'd have a lot of ideas, a lot of creativity. I'd make all kinds of schedules, and then boom, I would stop. Okay, so being the male side was so weakened because I was in analysis paralysis or just any other way that I could just stop my forward moving action. And so,
And why do you think that was? Why were you trying to stop your moving action, forward action?
Probably because I didn't know any better. And also too, being ruled a lot by fear. What if? And so too, throughout the year, I also worked on my fear response, and I've been able to work on living a life of wise caution, not a life of fear. And it's cool because I've done some things I've never been able to do before. I would have been too scared or too worried, or would have tried to talk someone out of it if they said they were going to do certain things that I've done in the last year. And it's very freeing. So I've got to say that once reviewing these pictures from just the other day, I feel so much happier. I feel so much more balanced. And
So-
I'm happy to see it, that actually what I'm working on is showing up.
So basically what happened is there was an imbalance in your life, but you didn't know about it because you were very used to being the way you were. And so when you asked me for a session and I did the face split, and so basically that information came to light. Oh, your feminine is overpowering your masculine, you're judging yourself, there are all these things that came up, and I'll show you guys the picture again so you can see it again. And for the people in the group, it's in your channel. It's in our group chat, normal group chat. And so when I showed that to you, like you didn't really, I mean, yes, of course, the changes that came about in your face took a year to come about, a year of hard work and dedication to your own self, to your own development. But you did it, and you did it yourself. And all you did, I know we had some check-ins throughout the year, but we didn't really have a full deep session. It just basically, you took the information that we had in our deep initial original session, where we talked about solutions and different directives that you could take and how you can mitigate the things that are showing up on your face. And then you took massive action. And that's awesome. That's why you're my hero. But I'll show you guys some pictures that maybe are from people who took a class. So here we have Brenda. Now, Brenda experienced the most massive transformation throughout the class. The pictures are taken in this are only a month apart. So basically, she took one course, and then she took level 2 a month later. And after the finishing of level 2, after she had a bunch of body work and things like that happen in psychosomatic therapy courses, and realigned herself because she realized what was going on in her body. She really balanced out immensely.
Wow, that's the one on the left there is amazing how much the change is incredible.
I'm actually really relieved to hear that you can actually change this, because not last night, but the night before, so that Monday night after we got off that episode, and she had told me about my upper lip and how it's really stiff. I spent like the evening and I was like, I'm just gonna, like work it out a little bit, stretch it and do all these things. And then all of a sudden I realized she's not reading my facial expressions. She's reading my bone structure.
No.
I can't change my bone structure. And I was like,
no. You can. So your lips.
But it freaked me out for a second.
Your lips are not made out of bone. You're okay. You can change your lips. They're not bone. They're flesh. Anything.
Well, I thought it was like your bone structure, like underneath, that would like kind of fill it out or push it, stretch it in certain ways.
So your bone structure is that you're not driving Mack truck, you're driving a sleek model, right? Because you have
Yes.
the narrow cheekbones, you have a filigree kind of face with a talk so people can see you.
Hello. Can you hear me? Testing. Can you hear me now? Please look at me. I don't know. Maybe the camera really likes you. I don't know. It's not showing up.
It showed
Okay,
up
there.
now.
I'm looking. Yeah.
Anyway, you have a very delicate filigree structure, right? So that's your vehicle. That's the bone structure that you came to this world with. But what you do with it is, like look what I did with mine, right? I had more delicate structure, but I got a lot of chubby weight on it, and so now I'm like this fluffy, chubby person. And that's good for hugging. I want to take care of the world. I want to like make everybody's problems go away. I put a lot of my energy on the outside, so I have a lot of flesh on the outside. Right?
That actually brings me to another question. How do surgeries affect this? Because my cheeks used to not look like this. I'm really excited that they do look like this now, because I used to have 7 more teeth in my mouth. And my cheeks from like here, I had the big Cherokee Indian, like big rosy cheeks. And I used to hate it. I hated it because I had baby face all the time. And I've always wanted that like sleek
Chiseled.
jawline, like Angelina Jolie kind of face.
That's all makeup, right?
I know it is. I know it is. But it like my face shape actually changed after I got those teeth removed. And I was just curious, does that have any effect? Like, so if your body and your bone structure and the way that your face, if that's all created by your experiences, what happens when you take things away? Does it reflect psychologically?
Well, I haven't looked at teeth for a long time. I would have to look in my book because it's not something that I just know that teeth are how hard you are on yourself. So when you're clenching your teeth, right, that's being really impatient with yourself, hard on yourself kind of thing. Grinding your teeth at night, that kind of thing. But I don't know specifically like how it would affect your psyche to have a bunch of teeth removed. But every time you have a part of yourself removed, there is an effect on your whole total body, because your body is, your emotional body, your physical body, your spiritual body, and all of that. They're all together, kind of mixed in this one vessel, right? Vehicle. Well, maybe the vehicle is the bone structure, and the flesh would be like the interior. You can change the interior, but you may not be able to change the actual chassis of your vehicle, right? In my experience, go ahead.
I was just asking because I know that she had suggested, and she said she usually doesn't suggest it, but chopping off part of my hair because maybe it holds that memory in there. And I was wondering maybe if like there was an issue with your teeth and you got them removed, now your brain is like, oh, that part of me is gone, so I don't have to worry about it anymore.
We'll ask Carol about your teeth, or maybe we can ask Christy tomorrow. She's also a teacher, so she's probably looked into that more recently than I. So teeth are a whole complicated thing because there's a whole huge chapter on teeth. Every tooth has a different meaning and all that. So it's a whole other thing. But with the face changes, like, the changes, like I experienced, I couldn't find my face split for this show. Maybe I'll find it for tomorrow and show it. But the changes that happen in your face, everything, like I met a guy who, when I met him, his chin was like way back somewhere in here, right? And it was very regressed. And then the rest of his face was kind of forward like this. So he was kind of imbalanced on a slope. And a few years later, so he became a therapist, and he really, brought his power back into himself. And so chin is all about determination. So he took the chin and he put it out, and he, massaged his jaw, and then he made changes in his personal life. He attacked it on every level. And he had a regular face after like 4 years. So it's all possible. And this is a bone, but it's a movable bone, right? So it's how you hold it. People do weird things with their muscles because they're stressed. Some people will go like this because they're stressed, right? And then it shows up like this. Well, that's actually, I'm sad. But yeah, if you're sad for a few years, So if you see somebody with this kind of face, that means they've been sad a lot. Maybe lately, maybe somebody died. You know what I mean? And if you're ever wondering what a facial expression is, like you see something in the store and you're like, oh my gosh, where'd that come from? What kind of a facial? Try to put your face in that, like in that facial expression that the person is holding, right? So that would be more like judgment, judging the world, and maybe some anger and hatred there, and there are all sorts of emotions, and they all show up on your face, and it doesn't have to be that extreme, even a little bit. But Brenda, let me show you Brenda one more time. Brenda was able to shift the way her face looked in 4 weeks, just from becoming more self-aware. Now, what we're talking about today is where in the world your inner I can't even say it. Where in the world is your inner guide? So, Pamela, you had a session with me. I shine a light, but then I walked away. I went home and had dinner. What did you do after? How did this happen that you were able to make this massive change in your body?
Well, I think little by little, because I do keep a journal, and then too, I kept referring back to our notes. And what was neat too is we continued with our autonomy class. So to be in the company of so many enlightened people that truly have good intentions for themselves and others, that right there was kind of like a super duper incubator. So it kept the little growing tiny Pamela to grow, kind of helped me to grow stronger. And I really do believe that's a lot of it. And then again, because I'm an encourager, but it was so nice to have others encourage me. They might catch me doing something that was good or helpful or of benefit to them. And I would know that I was growing more. I would just know that. And then if I'd feel doubtful or scared, or I'd be frozen in action, I'd say, you're not a little man. I'd say it inside my mind. You're not a little man anymore. That bully's not bullying anymore. You can do this, and you can learn, and you can move forward with action steps taken in integrity, like Richard likes to say. Richard Grove from Autonomy. I love that. I can move forward with action steps with integrity. I love that. So yeah, it's like one foot in front of the other, basically.
Hey, to all the people that are listening to us, if you have any questions or if you want to leave us a comment, we will answer any of your questions live. So if you have questions for myself or for anybody else on this call, you can do so. I have one more face split to show you guys. And Pamela, I shared it with you on your personal chat. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but I don't know if you can look at them. But no. But I wanted to show you Donna. Now, this is again a month apart, but this is a lip thing, Willow, just like you were talking about. See, Donna has the same lip thing that you do, but 40 years later.
I'm still waiting to see the picture. So if I have a blank look on my face, that's all that is.
Right? So here we have, she shifted, her forehead was pretty clear to start with, right? She was fairly balanced there. But then in Donna, her masculine was very dominant and her feminine was very weak. And so a month later, she really realized that she was bullying herself and pushing herself and creating this disruption within her own body, being judgmental and mean and unkind in her words and thoughts towards herself. And then, in the pursed lips, that talks about judgment too. But then she realized that, like, she got in touch with her inner self. She's like, oh, I'm treating myself this way. Because the thing is, I'm going to look at you guys when I say this. The thing is, it doesn't matter how you treat others. Whatever comes out of your mouth is actually what's already going down inside you. Yeah. So if you're mean to others, that absolutely means you're already mean to yourself. There is no other way. A person who's not mean to themselves will not be mean to others. It's a fact.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can prove it, though, but it's a fact.
I was all on board until I looked over and I realized that my you know, kind of face. It's the same face my mom makes when she makes that sound. She's like, I was like, yep, there it is.
But
I see it now.
But that's
I
not so
don't-
much
I was trying so hard
judgmental.
not.
That's more like distrustful. That's the, yeah, right. Screw you. I'm not gonna listen to you.
It is judgmental because I'm making a judgment. See, here's my thing. I'm picky about words because my husband is even pickier about words than I am. So it rubs off. But being judgmental, your brain is a judging machine. You cannot walk around this earth without judging something. But you better make sure that your judgment is like it's would it be right
More
to
and
say
more
it's
precise.
yes. You need to have discernment with your judgment. So yeah, that is my judgment face, but it's also my I think this is a bad idea, but it's going to be hilarious to watch. Kind of like I know you're not going to listen to me, but I have different opinions.
I'm gonna let you burn on your own.
Yep. And I'm going to eat popcorn as it happens because it'll be hilarious. I'll be here to pick up the pieces when it's done, but I'm not gonna waste energy. If you want to do this, go ahead.
That's a great phrase. I love it. What about you, Michael? What do you think?
I think on a kind of a bigger picture, the fact that like society is a reflection of the leadership, and especially in a power hierarchy. And so like the situation as we have it today, all the bad things that are going on is really a reflection of the character at the top. And so I think to some degree, in knowing this information, we can further understand what is actually going on at a bigger level. The fact that the world is the way that it is a reflection that we've given power to people that are damaged, and that it really is a matter of us reassuming our own power. And and so like being able to see that and see that in each other and really understand really does, I think, give us a lot more capability, or maybe just understanding that that really this existence is really ours. We have the power to make our lives better or worse. And
But you
I think
do.
that's a
I
really
mean,
powerful
you're
thing.
living your dream life, right? There are still issues with your dream life. I mean, come on, how much better can it
Well,
get?
I think the thing is that life is a challenge, and I think to a large degree what we learn, who we become, is really up to us. And they really put like climbing the mountain of the person that we want to be is a challenge. And so sometimes it's difficult, but that's the challenge that we want to take. I think that's the challenge that we have to take, because that's the purpose that we're built for. I think one of the things that I took from Monday's thing was, who are you, what are you built for?
What are you
That's kind of
driving, a Mack truck or a Ferrari?
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what mine is. It's definitely closer to a Mack truck than a Ferrari, I'll tell you that much.
What about one of those sleek pickup trucks, the shiny ones?
I don't know. I think it is for carrying a lot of weight. So I'm probably more like a truck than a sleek car or something like that. But then realizing that is also its own burden. But then but then once you start to realize that that's the function that you have, and then how to streamline that function, then you can really you can have happiness in performing functions that like a lot of people might cringe at, the kind of the the work that's got to be done.
The chop wood,
But
carry water things.
yeah,
I really relate to that last. Like I had a whole different conversation going, but you threw me off guard with that last one because it hit me right in the heart. It's really hard for me to sit with people in their darkest moments feeling that pain and knowing that I can't do anything about it. And I have to sit there and I have to hold that for them and allow them to feel it and allow them to realize that they can get through it and not stop it. That's like tedious work. Other people, they fight so hard. They fight tooth and nail to stop feeling that way, to avoid it. And they'll go to the ends of the earth to avoid it. And part of me loves doing it. Part of me, it's like, I feel pumped afterwards. I might feel exhausted, but I'm like, oh my God, that was like a good workout. It was amazing. So yeah, I really relate to that. When you find your purpose, the thing that you're good at, it's so much more fulfilling than fulfilling this random dream that you had, you know, years before that didn't really fit in with who you really are.
And one point I would like to make, I've been thinking about this. I do believe that it, of course, is up to us. And I like what Willow said about being able to hold those feelings for someone. Many times I think it's a coping mechanism. All of us have done a thing where we kind of go away and dissociate because the feelings are so bad we cannot hold them. And I've got to say, I'm very thankful for my husband, who is also my best friend, and how he has that strength and he can hold that for me at times, and how he is not afraid to tell me the truth, even though pure truth is sometimes hard when you know you really need to hear it, but you're almost scared to hear it. But he loves me enough to be able to do that. So I would say without him, I would not have been able to make so much progress in a year. I really wouldn't. I know it was my work, but you've got to have someone that's supportive. Just like Willow said, you have to have someone that's maybe standing in the gap for you until you can get there.
Absolutely. I think, we are social creatures. And, if you look at a lot of the statistics that go into things like productivity and efficiency and even learning, it is a group activity that is the most effective way of getting things done. And so there is that interaction that has to happen. And certainly the people that we surround ourselves with, if they're very supportive and nurturing, then man, we can grow like a weed. Whereas if they're not, then where it's like growing in a desert.
Yeah.
That word productivity, I just realized that what I think it is and what most people think it is, it's a whole different thing. Because I haven't been in corporate for so very long. For me, in my world, productivity is trying to become more of who you are, working hard at doing your own thing, creating the offering that's in your heart on the outside, helping people do the same, working with the community to make sure that everybody has the platform so they can express themselves on the level that they want to express themselves. That's what I hear when I hear the word productivity, using my time more wisely, creating more opportunities for myself and others. That's what I hear. But when people hear productivity, that's not what they hear.
Yeah.
And I actually had an argument with somebody on Facebook about it. Not an argument, but a disagreement.
It sounds like what you described is the foundations for being productive. That is productivity for you, because that is the space in which you can be productive.
That's right. But the very enlightened and lovely and amazing person who I had this disagreement with because it was a meme. I liked the meme and she thought it was rude. And so because we're friends, because she's enlightened, I was like, what's up with that? Like, I don't get this. Like, how can you? I actually texted on her thing. Such a rude like, how can this be rude? And so she thought it was the corporate thing, chasing after the dollar, following somebody else's dreams, creating opportunities for other people, not for yourself, slaving away 9 to 11 without adequate compensation or satisfaction within yourself.
Yeah. That's like the mechanization, the assembly line kind of concept where productivity is just faster and harder and more efficient, more robotic. Yeah. I cringe. I do use productivity as a word and efficiency as a word very delicately, because those are two words that can
Easily
be
misunderstood.
misconstrued. Yeah.
Well, at first I didn't even realize that it could be used differently. Like, I mean, I'm sure I would have known if I thought about it. I could understand it, but it didn't come across my mind. When I saw the meme, I was like, use this time to be more productive. I was like, yeah, use this time to be more who you are. Of course. Why wouldn't you? You know, if you have a few weeks off work, become more of who you already are. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I shared a post on Facebook. It was something like along the lines of, if you don't come out of quarantine with a
That's
new
exactly the post that I had.
And then at the end, and then the end it says, you didn't, if this doesn't happen, you didn't lack time, you lacked motivation. And one of my good friends reposted the same thing and with scratched out. And it said, if you don't come out of quarantine with a, that's okay. You can use this time to relax and get to know yourself. And I was like,
that's
so I posted, I made an edit. I realized what the conflict was, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not at all what I was meaning. And I see how it was read differently. So I edited and I wrote in a comment above it saying, and even if the only new knowledge that you gain is a little more about yourself, a little more how to relax and how to be happy with yourself, that is progress. And that is a new skill that is included with what I was talking about. I didn't hear anything else about it. So I was like, oh, I can see how people can take it differently.
Yeah. Well, every word, that's actually the thing, because we think we're communicating in English and therefore everybody understands what we're saying, but we're not, and sometimes when there is a reaction that's not appropriate to the words we say, it's good to have the attitude of curiosity and go, where's the disconnect exactly? Right. Well, what's going on here? So
I feel, but I think so many times. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I feel like there's so many times that anytime I try to communicate, especially in something that's a little bit impersonal, I feel like I need a lexicon. We've got to have a shared glossary of terms.
Even if we have a lexicon, it may not help. And you come up with the word like sophisticated, and everything goes to hell because people are like, oh, you're so sophisticated. Oh, I'm a good liar. What do you mean? That doesn't mean a good liar. Well, when is the last time you looked sophisticated up?
Oh, funny.
Right? Because the sophists were the lawyers who could lie the best. That's where sophisticated comes from.
I just think it's really, when we try to go to the heart of another person and try to put ourselves in their shoes, it's so good to say, oh man, I'm now seeing through your eyes. You have a different lens than I do. And so that's a beautiful thing. And I like what you were saying about, I need to see this and I need to correct this, because in truth, I'm not trying to hurt. I'm trying to be inspiring by my words, not to hurt others. So
for the most part,
I like the word nourishing.
Yeah.
We can give to each other. We can do nourishing things for each other. Our words, our expressions, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So being nourishing is always a positive.
And even in IFS, like if you're approaching any of your parts with a part that's other than self, you're not going to get anywhere. They'll run from you. They will, duck their eyes and not make eye contact. They won't talk to you, or they'll give you vague, encrypted answers where you're like, what the does that mean? Agnieszka hit it right. She hit the nail on the head. So I was like, wait, I need to say that right. When she said, like, you have to approach it with curiosity, because that's the only time people feel safe enough to stop running and start going, oh, you want to know me more? And it's not, I was going to take this back to what Pamela had said. It's not just about making sure that you're not hurting other people, but you're not hurting yourself. Like, a lot of us have parts that we feel are out of control. And when we imagine, I've had these with clients where I told them to imagine this part, and they got the horrified look on their face, and they go, he's in a cage. He's got chains around him. why is he in the cage? And he starts like running to this other part. And he's like, why is it in a cage? I don't understand. He got this angry look on his face. And I said, your angry part is talking to the jailer. You're not talking with self. His caretaker got angry and said, why is this part in a cage? I don't understand. And got angry and tried to defend it. And when I finally got him back to just asking questions of like, why is this in a cage? What is the issue? And we were able to walk through it and actually readjust the situation. You know, we got the guy out of the cage, fed him some dinner, had a family dinner, and decided how things were going to be from now on. You can't do any of this. You can't approach your self-work with anything other than curiosity and compassion. You just have to accept that you are what you are. Good, bad, ugly, beautiful. You got to accept it.
And the next day, did he go back in the cage or what?
He
Probably.
did. He did. The next morning, we were talking, and he started we were talking non-therapy, just like friends talking, and all of a sudden he started getting triggered. And so I asked him, I said, where is that part that we just let out of the cage? Where is he? And he said, he like went into his mind. He goes, he's back in the cage. They put him back in the cage. And I was like, all right, let's go back again, get him out of the cage, feed him some breakfast this time, reestablish the rules that we are not going back in the cage, and figure this out.
And so for dinner, he was
like,
back in the cage, right?
No, he was sitting near it.
Oh.
I was like, I don't know about this. I want to stay kind of near it, but then it was more the part's choice. So then we got to express what the part needed. But the whole point is you can't approach any of this if you're trying to change it.
So
because trying to change these parts is telling them that they are wrong, that they are invalid, and they're not there for any good reason.
yeah, that's something I say to like some of my parts, like the ones that want to watch TV instead of be productive, in the most high way. No, but I was gonna tell you guys. So we were talking about this is about psychosomatic therapy and about inner guides, but well, not inner guides because you only have the true self as your inner guide. I don't personally believe in outside forces and such. Like it all comes back to the heart, in my opinion. I mean, not other than God, but I'm talking about, whatever.
It's an internal thing.
It's an internal thing.
Entities.
Yeah, well,
entities.
That's neither here nor there. If you're looking for your inner guide, don't look outside of yourself. Look inside yourself because that's where it is, right?
I mean, it says it in the title, inner guide. If it was an outer guide.
Yeah, that would be different and we could talk entities. But no. So the other day I was doing a discovery call for marketing with a client. And she was talking yesterday, as a matter of fact. And she was talking about creating this thing. But there was a part of her that was doing this weird thing. Every time she talked about creating the website, she would talk like this. And her teeth were stuck together and almost like closed. And you could see like her jaw would like square out. And then somebody would ask her a question. She wouldn't know the answer. And then her jaw would relax. Then she said she would suddenly know the answer. And then somebody said, well, what do you envision this project? Where do you envision this project being in 6 months? I don't know. Right? I don't know. And then I said, hey, can you ask that part of you to like take a step out for just a minute? Like, we don't want to take over. We just want to get some answers from you. So can the protector or the part of you that makes your jaw like this, can he just step aside for just a minute so we can talk to you? And then he can come back. And we actually had like good 20 minutes of conversation with her where her face was like smooth and feminine. It wasn't squared off. And she wasn't talking like this. And then right at the very end of the call, she started talking like this. I'm like, oh, he's back. There he comes.
This happens with handwriting too. So all of your parts have different body language. And when they take over, sometimes you can't get them to talk until you put a mirror in someone's face, and then all of a sudden they're like, and you're like, oh, angry part, you're coming out today. I witness you. I see you there. I see you trying to get my attention. And it does, like, you can watch the tension in their body I watch my clients. I see different parts talk, and they don't even realize it. They don't realize that what's going on, but I watch their body language change. And especially whenever, and this is true for men and women, whenever they start getting really uncomfortable, they put everything that they can possibly put in front of them. Like, and always in a position where they could just
defensive position, like, yeah,
very defensive and protective. And their facial expressions, they switch out, and the handwriting will change. I used to notice this in high school, but I didn't know what it was. So whenever that part wants to talk, it'll have a different feel, a different color associated, a different vibe that's going on, a different tone of voice. And you'll start to slowly recognize these parts.
Do you name these parts? Like, do you have names for them?
That's the only way to keep track. Only way to keep track. 'Cause the saying is, where there's one part, there is two. And where there's two, there is 10. So your parts can have parts of their own. It gets pretty intense. And pretty
so then
deep.
It becomes Sally 1, Sally 2, Sally 3, Sally 4?
Kind of. I tried naming all of my parts, but sometimes they don't want to be named yet. They want to just be seen. So I'm trying to think of one. Oh, yeah. So it's probably a little personal, but I'm a pretty open person, so I apologize if anyone thinks it's like, oh my gosh, that's awful. You know, it's gonna happen. I'm used to it.
After Monday, I don't think it could get that much worse.
True. There was this one part, and I called her Sadness or Blue, and then she kind of dissolved into two parts, and they're Pain and Panic from Hercules. So they became like, they completely changed names, and it wasn't until the very, like, they probably have different names underneath that. That's just what they've labeled themselves, and you have to acknowledge what they're wanting to be labeled as, so that you can be like, all right, I see that's who you want to be seen as.
Oh, you can't just name them random names?
They won't let you.
No,
if it's not their name, they won't respond to it. You won't get a reaction, or you'll get a bad reaction.
Yeah.
So you've done IFS work too, Pamela?
What's interesting is I had never heard of internal family systems until this year, but I was involved in some fantastic counseling when I was in my early 30s. And part of it, we definitely had to fuse and integrate into my core personality. I had a lot of little splinters off. And they were very very specific onto what functions that they had in my life.
And did you name them?
How they sat, their certain smile, like really amazing. And so now I'm down to my core personality and 3 others. So I'm feeling pretty good that I'm down to that at this point.
So Willow, is that something you do where you integrate the parts and you try to have as few as possible?
Yes. It's not necessarily trying to have as few as possible. That's not the ultimate goal. If that happens, that's what's supposed to happen. So what you do is you go through, you acknowledge these parts, you witness them, you acknowledge anything that they need you to understand about themselves, why they are the way they are, what they do. And then that's where it gets a little tricky, because you have to ask them if they're open to change, if they want the change. If they were to want the change, what do they want to do? And you help integrate them. Just like I was talking about how I had a client who one of his parts was in a cage. I had to reintegrate this part, and I had to remind him. I said, if you go near him, what happens? And he's like, he freaks out. He's uncontrollable. And I'm like, okay, well, give him some food. Have him sit with the family, with everyone else. Talk to everyone else. Let everyone else know that from now on, blank no longer goes in the cage. We take other precautions, and you talk about their rules, so that whenever in exile, if they're not ready to be unburdened and find their place in life, the protector's job is still to protect them, to keep them from acting out too much. So when you get them talking, you get the exile to go, hey, protector, I'm feeling a little, I need you to step in. The protector comes in and steps in and says, all right, that's enough. You listen to the protector because they're there for a reason. You say, all right, I'm going to back off. I don't want to scare you too much. You address that. So you do reintegrate the parts.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about, I can't remember exactly what you were talking about, but it reminded me of the somatic, a lot of traumatic event survivors, they have an issue with disassociation to the point where they don't really recognize themselves in the mirror. And one of those, I have a picture. It's actually, I think it is my Discord profile picture. It's where like my hair is all pulled back in my forehead and I'm not smiling. I'm just have my regular face. And I started writing a libertarian fiction anarchist novel. And my main character was based off, I knew that she was based off of a part of me, not me, but just a part of me that just did things differently. And her name was Willow. That's where I got the name. I'm not kidding. I found a picture of this main character, of what I wanted her to look like. I showed it to Deirdre the other day. I put it side by side and she asked me if it was a self-portrait. So that part would come out and would speak. And I realized that that was the part I used most when I'm dealing with other people who have been in traumatic situations, because it's comforting. They know, they can feel the sadness. They know that you know what's going on and how you feel. And it makes you feel like you can also reach that. You can endure it. It becomes a bearable event and not an unbearable experience.
Yeah. That is really, really beautiful for you to say that. Again, too, the whole thing with seeing in a mirror, almost not recognizing yourself. My husband, throughout the years, there's times he says, stop right now. I'm taking a picture of you and I want you to look at it. And then I'll look at it and be kind of shocked. He says, that's what I'm seeing right now. That's certain personality coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, it totally is. So he would say, please tell me what's bothering you. What is it that's triggering that part to come up?
It's so nice that you guys can work together over that.
Yeah.
That is, I'm latching on to that because that, I've had the same instance, except for usually people ask me, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that is
I've been dealing with this for 29 years. I'm okay.
No,
I'm surviving. I'm living. This is okay for me. So that doesn't answer, I can't answer that question, honestly. I literally can't. And then I realize that I can't answer it. So I get really pissed off and frustrated. And
then you're not okay.
And then I'm not okay. And because I'm not okay, my mind goes back to, I'm not okay because you thought I wasn't okay. And I'm trying to convince you that I am okay. So they become the trigger. And it took a lot of years for me to realize. And I start telling people, I said, if you have someone in your life who answers that question with, oh, I'm okay, I guess, ask them a different way. Ask them what they're feeling. Ask them how they're feeling. Ask them anything about their body. Don't just ask them, are you okay? Because they are okay as far as they know.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where is your inner guide?
I'm not sure. I think she's drinking coffee somewhere.
In Costa Rica.
She's always
Carol.
She's always got, I think she's my inner guide. I think she's a caretaker part. She doesn't talk hardly ever. She just sits there up against the counter with a cup like this and just smirks at you, kind of like, I know, but I'm not going to tell you.
Well, we're almost out of time. What do you guys want to talk about for the last few minutes? There seems to be a big quiet in the room.
Well, I know we kind of got off. We did get onto a couple tangents, but I think this is all very useful information. I guess we should probably talk about if people wanted to know more information about Pam or yourself, Agnieszka, what would they do?
They can just message us on Facebook or send us a comment on any
Yeah.
platform, they can go to our website. There is a messaging set up on our website as well. So yeah, they can do that.
And if somebody wanted to get some of this stuff done for themselves, how would they do that, Agnieszka?
If they send us a message, we'll send them a calendar link to book an appointment with myself, or I don't know. I sent some links for contacting Carol in the other on Monday, so they were populated in the video description after. So the same thing will happen here.
Awesome.
I would like to express my gratitude and sincere thanks for not only the friendships, but also the true friendships where you tell each other the truth, where you help elevate the other one. Hey, elevate. And just to be able to have such a beautiful communication with all of our authentic core personalities. And I'm just really grateful to be in this room. And thanks again so much.
Hey,
Heart.
you're back next week for Mother's Day. So, what day are you back? Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
I believe I was booked in on Thursday.
Okay. That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. All right. Well, we will be back tomorrow with Christy Foster, who is a psychosomatic therapy teacher, practitioner. She does her own classes in the United States, so she's local for the States. There's no local for Raising Excellence because we're global. But we're like a big, great hug on the whole globe. But Christy will share with us some really interesting observations, and she's got an amazing life to talk about as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
And what was the name of the episode again? For tomorrow?
Why does Christy keep coming back for more? Or going back for more? Because she's taken all the levels of psychosomatic therapy that are there to be taken. So what is it that's bringing her back? And I'm sure she could... we could do hours in psychosomatic therapy. I haven't even shared with you like a tiny little amount of what I could talk about. I haven't really talked about how I met Carol very much, or all those things that we can do, that we can see in a person's body, how they stand, how they sit, how they walk, how they talk. Everything is a body's way of communicating with. Even going from talking like this to talking like this. There's a big difference when you're observant.
Sorry, guys. I just realized that my big sister is listening on Facebook. So, hi, Nikki.
Hi,
Please
Nikki.
don't embarrass me. Don't call in with any big stories.
Well, she hasn't texted yet. We're almost at the end, so
Oh no, she's joined the chat. Let's go.
Nikki, do you want to have the link for next time so we can actually have you as a guest?
I will drop out.
She's scared of you still. What can I say? Oh, nice to meet you, Nikki. I'm glad you're listening. And so I guess we'll shut down for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 7:35 or 7:37 Eastern. It just keeps creeping more and more further. Maybe we will be on time at 7:30 tomorrow. Who knows? In any case, it was lovely having you here with us, and thank you very much for listening. And we will be back tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.